Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm Andy RC and today I'm taking a look at the Diatone GT-M515. So this is an ultralight 5-inch model, and Diatone are just outputting so many models at the moment it's hard to keep track of all of them. But for the most part the main core of the copter is remaining the same. So this has the same ESCs, flight controller and VTX as the GT-M3, as well as their other latest micros that they've released. In fact, the cage is the same as well, it's just a different colour with some nice edge finishing on there. And the main guts has taken them some time to refine. So the very early GT-M3s had a lot of video noise on the picture, and the flight controller had a gyro that was a little bit too sensitive. But now this is the perfect unit, so they can just slot it into any suitable frame and it works. Now this is a prototype, so some things might change against the production version because I'm going to be advising of some changes. But let me run you through the specs that this one has. So with the props and a battery strap, it weighs just 188 grams, so it's directly competing with the Aldia RC 200 GT. The frame is a TrueX and it comes in two versions. One is a unibody, and then this is the split version with individual arms. Now the arms do look really skinny, but the carbon is very thick, and I've crashed this one a lot in my testing, and that's something that's good about the ultralight, is that they are really durable because they don't have the inertia of the heavier copters. The carbon is super high quality with chamfered edges, and I've been given this silicon mat here, which is the same mat that they give with all of their other micros, and it doesn't quite fit this frame too well, and it's also not thick enough in my opinion, but it does do the job just about. And they didn't give me a battery strap either, so I'm hoping that they provide one in the finished product. So onto the motors, and they are the Sunny Sky 1806 2500 kV with a naked bottom. I've actually lost one of the screws to one of the motors, but I have done a lot of flying with it. You will actually notice that there's no access to the underneath of the motor, which stops mud getting in there, so that's something that I quite like. So just like the 200 GT, they have gone with the smaller stator motor, which is much lighter than a 2.2 or a 2.3 stator motor, and that's how they get the weight so low. Now the props they have provided are an interesting one. These are the GM515 BiBlades. So fairly high in pitch, but because they are a BiBlade, they put less demand on the power system, and they are extremely efficient. Now they've also provided some 5042 TriBlades, and I was speaking to the guys at Diatone, and they've told me that they've received some feedback from other testers to only include the TriBlades in the finished product. So this video that I'm making, as well as being a review, it's also in part to tell Diatone that they're being fed duff information, and I think this is a problem that Diatone have always had. They have a lot of fans out there, and I think a lot of the facts and issues get lost within that bubble. The BiBlades are so much better with this model, and it's the TriBlades that shouldn't even be considered, and I'll prove that to you later. But moving on, and the motor wires are tucked in neatly with some clear heat shrink and some cable ties, so this is a really neat build. Then in the middle, the ESCs are the F25 BL Heli S 4-in-1, which are D-Shot 600 capable. Now, Diatone always told me that they are a 25 amp ESC, but the listing says that they are a 20 amp continuous with a 25 amp peak. So 20 amp times by 4 is 80 amp, so that gives a 100 amp burst in total. And that brings me nicely onto the connector and the cable. So they've used an XT30 connector. When I asked them why this was, they said it's because the Copters optimized for a 4S 850 milliamp battery, and the majority of those come with an XT30 connector. But my opinion is that they should have used an XT60 because, well, first of all, the 30 in XT30 stands for 30 amps, and that's what they are rated to. And in reality, they can actually handle much more than that. Now, this model doesn't come with a battery. However, these GNB 850 mAh 4S batteries with a high C rating come with an XT60 connector, and they perform better, much better in fact, than the 850 mAh tattoo batteries with the XT30 connector. And I tend to find that the tattoos are only good for about 60 amps and then they sag out. And that was the case on the 200 GT as well when I tried them. And then when you add on the fact that you can fly this model with a 1300 mAh 4S battery to get a really long flight time, the majority of those bigger batteries use an XT60. And then when you start adding heavier batteries, the amp draw goes up. So I think an XT60 connector would have been a better choice because on the bigger batteries, it starts to act as a bottleneck, which you'll see in the flight videos later. However, I have one of these adapters and it still performed really well. I just think that it could have done even better using a slightly thicker cable and a bigger connector. So, onto the flight controller, and it's Diatone's own Fury F4. It's using the MPU 6000 gyro, so it's limited to 8K, but it is a very stable system. They've also soft-mounted it as well. It's got a capacitor on the 5 volt to eradicate noise, and it has Betaflight on-screen display as well. Now, this one has come flashed with Betaflight version 3.3, and it was mostly set up, but like all Betaflight capable models, you're going to want to learn how to set it up. And I think with so many settings these days, it's an unrealistic expectation to not have to change at least a couple of things to get you going, so I'm going to put that out there. One thing that I've noticed on these Diatone boards is that they have a current meter and they are really accurate these days. However, they have the capacity warning set to 850 milliamps in Betaflight, and for some reason that figure is not saving through to the CLI, and the CLI is set to 350 milliamps, which causes the on-screen display to flash prematurely. So if you enter the command set space OSD underscore cap underscore alarm equals 1300 and then type save, then that will sort out the problem. Of course, the number is related to the number of milliamps, so you can set that to however you like. They have put some custom PIDs in there as well, and they are very specific, and I think that's where a lot of the errors have been made in the feedback of this model. So the stock PIDs are for an 850 mAh 4S battery and the BiBlades, and if you stick the TriBlades on there, it's going to fly badly with the stock PIDs, and I think that's what a lot of these testers did without considering the BiBlades. Now, just like the other recent models, they have provided a separate buzzer board which plugs into a JST connector. I'd like to say that they haven't installed it from the factory to save a little bit of weight, but all of their other models also had the board separate for some reason. Now, I'm going to use D-Shot command, so I'm not going to be installing it, but it's nice that they do include it and it can fit in there just behind the camera. And of course, the VTX is the TBS Unify, which is on its own little board, and it has a further capacitor to filter out video noise. And smart audio is also set up in Betaflight, and that's something that you don't get with the LDA RC. And of course, the potential 800 milliwatt power output for long range. And this time they've used a Foxeer Lollipop antenna, which does give great reception. However, you can see that there's some damage to mine, and this is because in the speed runs, the air pushes it down into the props, and you can see that my props are damaged as well. So I fed that back, and in the production version, they say they're going to find a better way to mount it because, you know, it's just two cable ties crisscrossed at the moment. So this model is a plug and fly, and you have to add your own receiver. I'm using the XM Plus here, and the wires are already soldered to the flight controller for you. I just cut the ends off because it had a little connector on there, and then soldered up my receiver. And finally, we have the camera, which is the Runcam Sparrow. Now, while this is one of my favourite FPV cameras, I've advised that for this model they should probably use a CCD camera, and you will see why in a bit. And Diatone's response to that was that they're hoping to make this model available with both the Micro Swift or the Sparrow so that people can choose their favourite. So onto the flight footage, and we have super clean video, but something you'll notice under high throttle punches is that I'm getting jello in the picture, and that's there for a couple of reasons. First of all, the CMOS cameras are more susceptible to jello, but I found that with BiBlades you do get more vibrations with them compared to TriBlades. And I think it's to do with the frequency of the vibration rather than the balancing of the props. But of course, you can balance BiBlades much easier than TriBlades. But lower frequency vibrations tend to give more jello than higher frequency vibrations, and it's also the reason why the X-Class models suffer from a lot of jello in their FPV picture as well. So this is why I think a CCD camera would be better on this model, because it's a different technology and it deals with vibrations better. Now, if you stick the TriBlade on there, then the vibrations disappear, but the TriBlade is totally useless in comparison to the BiBlade. So the tune that they have given this model was with the BiBlade and the 850 mAh 4S battery, and the tune is just superb. The hesitations are on point with no bounce back, and there's no nose dipping with the eye gain. It's just perfect for me, and I wouldn't change anything. Now, while I realise that the tune of a copter is quite specific to the individual, I think what's happened is a lot of these testers went straight for the TriBlade and said that the tune was rubbish, and therefore they changed it, and I have a fear that those tunes might make it onto the final product. So I'm going to overlay the PIDs that came with this one, and I really hope after seeing this video that they will consider using the BiBlade instead of the TriBlade, because with the TriBlade the motors are really over revving. You can't hear it in these speed runs, but at 3/4 throttle the motor just totally hits a limiter. And the last 15% of the throttle has no impact on the thrust, and it just makes more noise. And in the speed runs you can see that it's only hitting 72 mph, but at the same time it's drawing over 80 amps in some cases. So if I show you the speed runs of the BiBlades, the model is quieter and way more brutal on the thrust, so it's hitting 99 mph and drawing less amps than the TriBlade at that higher speed. So using the TriBlade with this model is a no-brainer to me. It's slow, it's drawing too many amps, and it's screaming its head off. And in short, whoever has been advising Diatone to do away with the BiBlades for this package is feeding them duff information, and I think that is frustrating. Something interesting about using the BiBlades is that the rates aren't as sensitive as the same rates in Betaflight, but used with the TriBlades. And when you think about it for some time, it actually makes sense to why that is. So my usual rate of 0.8 needs upping on the BiBlades a little bit. So on the 850 mAh 4S battery, I was getting a 4-minute flight time, and that is flying like a lunatic, of course. So if you calm that down, you'll get better flight times. But what about a 1300 mAh battery? So I've said this before, but using smaller batteries to get the weight down doesn't necessarily increase the performance. In fact, a lot of the time you get a decrease in performance, and that's because the amount of amps a battery can provide is is tied in with its capacity or size. So when I flew this copter with a 1300 milliamp 4S battery, its top speed was still 96 mile per hour on the BiBlades, and that's because the 1300 milliamp battery can provide more amps than the 850 milliamp battery, despite it being 70 grams heavier. So if you aren't too fussed about the slight performance drop at the top end, I was getting over a 10-minute flight time with the 1300 milliamp battery, and that's also flying like a lunatic with one of the props damaged as well. And oddly enough, I didn't need to retune the PIDs using the heavier battery, so I think the BiBlades are less sensitive to weight changes than a TriBlade as well when it comes to the tune. But going back to the battery connector, the amp draw from the onboard current meter with the 1300 milliamp battery is still around the 80 amp mark, and I think that is down to the XT30 connector, because that figure would be reading 100 amps if these ESCs were allowed to peak at 25 amps each, and that is not happening. Either that or these ESCs can't actually peak at 25 amps, but considering the speed didn't change when the weight of the copter went up, and it wasn't falling out of the sky from the ESCs overheating, I would say that it's possibly the connector causing a bottleneck. But hey, maybe that's a good thing, and the connector wasn't getting particularly warm, so it's not really too much of an issue, but I thought it was worth mentioning. And I should say, some of you are probably wondering if this model can carry a GoPro, and the answer is yes. However, a GoPro would increase the weight of the copter by quite a bit, and that's where you'll start to see a drop in performance as the lack of torque in these 18-stator motors will start to show. But you know, in general, the performance of this copter is pretty incredible, and if you're trying to get under 250 grams, then you could use an even smaller battery like a 550 milliamp, but that battery is definitely going to sag a lot under heavy punches, so while we can, I would go for the bigger batteries myself. So with a 1300 milliamp 4S battery, the copter's all-up weight is 356 grams, and with a 850 milliamp 4S, it's 290 grams. So to conclude, we've got the potential here of a 10-minute flight time and maybe more with undamaged props and slower flying. It's almost hitting 100 mile per hour, which is amazing. And then add on the fact that we have the long-range VTX and the low price point, I think this one is a real winner. And it should be available soon, so I'll link it in the below. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.